Man, my story, I got a story, man, that's so crazy, man, because, I was a young kid, man. I was 19 years old. I was uneducated. I struggled with dyslexia. I did not know. I did not understand a lot of things, but, I come up, man, as 13 years old as a conservative vice lord over South Minneapolis. I was into that street life after school because I couldn't get a grasp on school, and so, shit, I used to go to school, skip school, tell my mom I went to school when I really didn't, and man, I failed 2 grades because of it, because I couldn't catch on to the curricular. I was in the streets, man, and I grew up over South Minneapolis at the City Incorporated. That was an alternative school. I used to go there, went to Katahdin and a couple others, man. I was just a bad juvenile kid, man. Well, my main fixture, man, was like drugs, selling drugs and hustling, man. And so, man, in 1992, my faction of the Vice Lords, the family that I was with, the guy that I was brought up and raised into the Vice Lord, his name was Edward Harris, and he was killed by fellow Vice Lords for allegedly cooperating with the police in the Jerry Hall investigation. That was in 1992. I was just like 16 years old, but that was my mentor, and so when my case happened, it happened with other Vice Lord members. We was taught never to cooperate with the police under no circumstances and stick to the code of the street. So when that shit happened, I wasn't there. I made the drug connection and left. You know what I mean? I drove and left. So, man, the state, man, they made up a narrative, man, that was so phony, so this and that, man, and I was just like, wow. It's kind of like I was just with the Assistant Attorney General from the CRU. He didn't want very well. It was the Assistant Attorney General Christopher Mishik, Mishek, and 2 law students from Mitchell Hamlin. The ball is in their court with the investigation and how the investigation is going, because as you know, it's political in nature now, because the homicide detective is now the Minnesota Commissioner of Corrections. He was appointed by the governor, Paul Schnell. I talked to Paul Schnell personally 4 years ago in Run City. I was like the swamper, like cleaning the hallway, and so I used to set up the events. He just mysteriously popped up at this graduation event there. So I was like on this work detail to set it up, and then I looked and said, man, that's dude, man. So I waited until after the event was over, then I approached him. I said, hey, man, he knew exactly who I was. And he said, man, I seen something in your case, man. He said, I know some things in your case. I know some things wasn't right, et cetera, et cetera. He said, man, as soon as I get back to my office, he said, man, they starting up this thing in the Minnesota Attorney General's office called the Conviction Review Unit. And he said, man, when I get back to my office, he said, I'm personally send you an application. And man, lo and behold, man, he did. Like a few days later, I got that application. This was in 2021. And so a few days later, I got that application, and man, I filled that joint out immediately. That night, it was in the mailbox. That was 4 years ago. So they finally reopened my case, and I signed the authorization papers about a month or so ago, and then so they got back to me and was like, hey, we're going to be out here. This Assistant Attorney General, he sent me a letter, he sent a copy, CC'd it to my attorney. He's like, hey, we're going to set up a meeting so we all can come out there and interview you. Man, it took 4 years, but man, here I am, man.